Okay, I'm testing the audio. Well, I'm gonna start with some videos about special education. And actually, I was starting to doing this because of the pandemic. I was having a free time, and the reason why I began doing some videos for YouTube. And now I'm more prepared, and I have more equipment. I have a new microphone, so I'm ready to start doing more videos. And also, I'm gonna try to erase all the videos I have done and redo them because I'm gonna try to do some editing and try to improve on the quality. So, anyways, uh, I'm talking about this topic, okay, because part of my experience, even my degrees in education, uh, has been in this area, okay, and I have been working on this in the different branches of I have a testing coordinator. I have worked in federal programs. I have been teaching science, math, and one of my previous jobs, I was actually in the area of special education. So the reason why now I'm doing this also to help me as a reminder. In later on, I had to do this again. So I'm gonna start with a presentation, and I want to say this before I start. And I'm sorry, I had to raise. Okay, there we go. Now I have to increase the presentation size. I'm ready. Um, I want to say the following. Doing special education is really hard. I mean, if somebody tells me of all the areas that I have worked in education, which one is the hardest one, I'm gonna say immediately there's gonna be special education. And if somebody tells me, "Do you want it again?" Like I would say no. And there are many things that you have to know. Okay, and many. I mean, I would not put somebody who is start beginning a career in education doing trying to accommodate special education students. But anyways, this is an introduction, special education 101. So a few references that are really good if you want to learn more about the topic. There are introduction to special education, making a difference. Okay, it is a really good book that had the basics. Okay, and if you want, because at the end, if you want to do this, you have to have the certification. This is a good book that you may borrow to ace the test. Texas Special Education EC12. Okay, and this is for the state of Texas. Okay, and actually, this is a book that I was using when I was trying to get a certification for SPED. So before I in, before I start with the things that the main thing that I had to know before, because I made paperwork that we had to learn, I wanna go a little bit about the theory, about the different perspectives about disability, and we have three. Okay, the deficit perspective of disability, the cultural perspective, and the sociological perspective. So, in the deficit perspective, human behavior and characteristics are shared people and distribute along a continuum. I mean, this is a more common way that we define special or student who have disability. And the idea is that us as humans, we have parameters, and if we are inside that range we are considered normal. Okay, so here showing two examples, we see here all the students, the size of the hands, there are pretty much the same, but we see here something that's considered abnormal. Okay, and because that's outside of the on the left or on the right of the spectrum, that's considered something that is a disability. The same happens when we do tests for intelligence, or we had like a normal distribution, we had like a standard deviation. So if you are, for example, in the below, yeah, that's considered a disability. If you're in the upper, okay, if we consider the distribution for intelligence, there are many tests that tries to measure that, you may consider gifted. Okay, and the same happen for many things. For example, the weight. If you are above the normal weight, we are considered obese. Or but also you can be really thin, have uh, weight is really low, and that also considered abnormal. And we can see here, for example, that it can be not physically, okay, that we when I show in the facial expressions or the size of the hands, but also, it can be for the intelligence. There are different tests that they use. So that's the basic definition. Another one is a cultural perspective, and not the definition is not all culture respond the same to individuals identified as having a disability. So sometimes uh, disability may be seem different, and not consider disability. For example, here, okay, and this is in India, okay, sometimes a disability they can be considered like a god, and because of the religious belief of the people. Okay, also this is another one, más tonto que un burro, and I'm saying this because, for example, in Mexico, when I was there in my years as a student, there was not actually a program for special education students. Okay, so it was like you have to swim or you drown. And what happened is that if you are not intelligent, and it's not that you are not smart, probably it's because you have a certain disability, and that's the reason why you're not able to progress as good as other students. But basically say, well, you're a donkey, you're a burro, and you're a burro, and that's the reason why you are. No, I mean, they are not saying, oh, this student probably had disability, we had to identify. But now you're a burro, I mean, so it depends on the culture, and on the country, what we define as a disability. Sometimes students have disabilities and we have no idea. They are not identified, and they just only run behind, okay, and they are not provided the support that they need to move forward in the education system. And the last one is the sociological perspective of disabilities, and they say that how societies treat individuals is what makes people different from each other. Some radicals suggesting disabilities are a necessity class structure. If individuals with significant differences are just treated like everyone else, problem with disabilities will disappear. One problem that they have with that minimization of disabilities could lead to reduction of services. So, I mean, the idea is that just because you are different, okay, that doesn't mean that you are not. You have to be treated equally. But at the same time, if we do that, we are neglecting that you probably need a support, okay, or you need a services. So here we see someone who's running, and sometimes we think, well, because you have a disability, you are capable of doing what normal people do, or what it doesn't mean that because you have disability, you are gonna be outside of society. No, I mean you can have a normal life, but also remember that he's using a device to help him run. Okay, so I mean, yeah, you can be and do whatever people do, but you are having a service, you're having a support to be able to do that. Okay, so we say, okay, everywhere is normal, but you need, and the same happen, for example, here, another one, La Rebelión de las Mujeres, Corvis, sometimes because you are obese, okay, I mean, you are obese, you are fat, and that's okay. I mean, that there's a lot of discrimination because of the weight that you have, and that's not a problem. But also, that's a disability. That's a health program, a health problem. So if we say, okay, with overweight, it's okay, it's fine, don't worry. I mean, just normal. No, I mean, it's a disability, and we have to also try to make somebody reduce weight, okay? Because of the diabetes or other health problems you're gonna have in the future. So yeah, okay. If we continue, okay, uh, to us, I mean, disabilities are so many, okay, and for make it more easy, we see that the special education, there are uh, there are 14 categories. Okay, so there are 14, and they are autism, deaf, blindness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairments, mental retardation, multiple disabilities, orthopedic impairments, oral heart impairment like ADHD. Okay, ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So we're gonna try to talk about that and the next PowerPoint. Specific learner disability, speech or language impairments, traumatic brain injury, visual impairment, including blindness, development delay. So now this seems easy, but if we are, for example, saying about autism, okay, we can have all this day and probably two presentation talking about autism, okay? Because autism is not really it's like an spectrum, okay? So there are different kinds of autism, and so it's not an easy topic. Each one of these categories, it's is its own presentation and its own topic, okay? I mean, this, if we go one by one, it's gonna be a lot of things. Uh, for example, emotional disturbance. Students probably they're gonna have to have like counseling or psychological support. Probably even go to a psychiatrics. Speech and language impairments. Students may have speech therapy. Okay, so someone who is qualified to provide speech therapy probably is gonna be support for the student, and that has to be written in the schedule of services, and so on. So this is simple, but I mean, talking about all this, it takes a long time, and probably in the next videos I'm gonna discuss it individually. Um, so, anyways, there are deadlines and there are many things that we have to do when we identify a student who has special who need special education services. There are many steps that we need to follow, and the first thing is the response to intervention. So if any student is having problems on the class, okay, we consider the student as at risk, okay. And when a student is labeled as at risk, you have to do interventions. Now there are different levels of interventions, tier one, tier two, tier three. It all depends on the districts and the plans that they have for intervention. So let's say a student did not pass the state assessment, okay, and just for not passing the state assessment, that student is considered a risk. And because he's a risk, he has to be provided with intense tutoring or intense remediation for be able to move forward and pass the state assessment on the next time. Now, if for some reason that does not work and the response to intervention is not working, then probably we can do a referral for special education services, because probably it's for another reason why the student is not progressing on the class. Probably it's a disability. So we do an initial referral. Okay, it can be by the parents, the teacher, or anybody, and then we had to give a copy of the Analysis of Procedural Safeguards. It's a book, okay, and between 15 school days, okay, we had to give analysis of and consent of refusal or refusal to provide initial evaluation. Okay, so we had to evaluate the students, and we have 15 days to reply to that. And when that happens, the one that is in charge of doing that is gonna be the diagnostician. Okay, so probably it's gonna be referred to as that diagnostician. And diagnostician is gonna do the evaluation, and then between 45 school days, you have to have an evaluation complete. Okay, and we have to provide an artist, or what is called an art, an A or an ARD is admission review dismissal. Usually in that meeting, okay, and we're gonna discuss that in next PowerPoint. It's gonna be the administration, the parent, the student, the teacher, and probably a counselor, depending also on the problem. You can have the speech therapist or the physical therapist or another people in the meeting. Okay, and then when that's gonna be what we consider the initial art. Okay, because we're gonna as the first one, and then and that meeting we're gonna try to do like an IP. The IP is what we define as the individual education plan, and when and how to do in the individual education plan, because it's a document that we had to follow by law. Okay, and there are many things that we need to include in that IP. Okay, so based on that, okay, we had to provide nice of procedural safeguards. Is a book, and now if student transfer, okay, probably you can do like a art for student transfer. And then we had to have consent for the initial placement in the educational services. And now here we have a 1 year, is because usually uh, you can have an art or you can have a ARD for different reasons. I mean, if you want to have a change replacement, or if you you think that it had to be something that we need to remove, that we have to include in the IP, you can have a meeting for that. Now, by law, we have to do at least once per year. Okay, so that's what we define as an annual art. Okay, so once a year, okay, we have to get together and again do another document and review the document, and try to see if everything is fine, or we had to do modification to IP. Okay, so yearly, once per year, okay, we have to do the art at least once. Now, in 3 years, okay, we do a revaluation. So after 3 years, okay, we had to do a revaluation to see if the students continue having services, if they have, or if we withdraw the student from the services. Hopefully, if everything is fine, he doesn't need services anymore. So he's gonna be back to the gonna be out of the program. Now we also have to include transition services, and they had to begin at age 14. Okay, depending on the state, uh, but I mean you can do it early if you want to, but also it depends on the state. Here in Texas, it's begin at 14. Yeah, by law, by federal law, it has to be done when you are 16 years old. But if you want to begin it even from, if you are in pre-K, you may do a transition even at pre-K, okay? But also we're gonna talk about that topic in another video. And then dismissal of graduation, okay? And so this is a summary of the timeline of a student who is receiving special education services. So when you are doing an IP, okay, there are different computer software that allows you to write down the document, okay, but even if you use that programs, you had to have an idea of the content that are there on the IP. And for example, the one I have used on the past have been from Frontline, that's called ESPED, okay. But anyways, something that we had to consider, and each one of these eight topics are gonna be discussed individually in the next video. So the first thing is the PLAFT. I mean, I don't know if I pronounce really correctly. And then two, the IP goals, accommodation and modifications that the students are gonna have to receive, placement of services, state assessment, functional services, transition, and extending school services. Okay, each one of these eight topics, okay, they're gonna, I mean, it will be like each one of these will be a individual presentation. Uh, Another information that we also have to have, amend to the art. I mean, sometimes we had to change things on the ARD. Manifestation determination, that's, for example, if a student have a change of placement, or if the student is having misconduct on the classroom or something, then if we want to change the student from the placement for more than 10 days, and I had to look at that. If it's more than 10 days, we had to do a manifestation determination to see if it's because of the disability or it's because of the because the student of this behavior. So because sometimes when they misbehave, probably it's because of the disability. So they have a protection, okay. And if we justify that it's because they have a disability that was a misconduct, I mean, they're not gonna be punished so severe. But anyways, now autism supplement, okay, for students who have autism, okay, there are 11 strategies that we had to do by law, and we also have alternate testing, okay, for students who have severely intellectual disability, okay, they are able to do an alternate testing. Now there are some uh, criteria that you need to follow, because how we define severe intellectual disability, how we define a disability that's so severe that they have to do an alternate test. You know, assistive technology. Some students, for example, if they have dyslexia, they can have a text-to-speech software to help them, you know, or a tablet. I mean, assistive technology can be many things. Visual impairment and deaf. Spatial transportation, if they need spatial transportation. And finally, graduation. Okay, that's important because depending of, I mean, many things that we had to consider is the kind of diploma they're gonna have when they finish the high school. Okay, so that affect its ability if they want to go into college or not, because depending of what graduation plan they got, or if they pass the state assessment or not, then they're gonna have a different diploma. So with this, right now I'm gonna end the video. Okay, and like I was saying before, this is the basic things. Okay, I'm gonna go on the next video trying to look at these eight topics one by one. Okay, and then from there we go. Okay, so hopefully this is gonna be useful. Okay, especially if you want to start doing this as a career. Okay, and I mean, this is really hard. Okay, uh, and you wanna see as we go with functional services. Okay, and when we go discussing this topic, you're gonna see that doing this is because you are in a calling to do it. Okay, it's not something that, and especially because you're not paid so well for this. And anyway, so I wanna try and for next time, and hopefully it's gonna help you a lot. Thank you. Have a nice day.